So now we'll understand what is config map and what is the difference between config map and environment variables. So here environment variables, if you see here, environment variables are used to set configuration data. Configuration data means it is a MySQL pod or Mongo pod or Postgres pod. So you can consider any one. So this data means, see here, environment variables data is the configuration data. So the data directly on the pod level. So when using environment variables, so they can set in a pod definition file. So in this section spec, there is a specification section. You can define the env. This is the env. So the order like this, spec dot containers dot env. In the container section, we have to provide this env definition. Then environment variables is configured when deploying the pod. So this is about environment variables. So simple configuration. See here some of the best use cases for environment variables. Simple configuration. Use env for simple key value pair configurations, such as setting environment variables directly on the container. So if you want to, when this kind of scenario came into the picture, so see here, fast access. When you want to immediate access configuration data without relying on file-based IO, input and output, environment variables are good choice. So is there any case came into the picture requirement? So you can use directly inside the pod definition file. But config map not like that. You have to define separate config map definition file. So in that some data section, you have to mention all environment variables. So once you have create in the running containers, see here what difference. Running container, if you want to change any configuration data, means key value pair these environment variables on the config map. These environment variables directly loaded on the running containers. This feature only available config map. Environment variable means once pod is created, that environment variables cannot change. If you want to change again, go delete the pod and update the environment variables. So, but when using config map, not like that. See in the config map definition section, you have to mention these whatever changes, those changes dynamically applied to this config map. This is very important. If you want to map
Harshad,
any, yeah, tell me.
and what is the main use of config mapping?
Yeah, if you want
And
to
what
pass
is the purpose?
any environment variables, if it is DB related kind of information, or so practically you will see here, these are the environment variables. You have to provide
Okay,
directly in the pod level by
okay,
using env. But
okay,
config map not like that. Here, see, there is a config map definition file. You have to provide environment variables in the data section. These these environment variables in future, any changes you made means username, password will change. So that password automatically updated when this config map when you are using config map. But environment variables not like that. You have to delete the pod and again you need to create the pod updated value. That is the drawback when using environment variables. Understand?
yeah, okay, okay, Harshad.
See here. Purpose of config map is Kubernetes object uses to store configuration data in a key value pairs. These are the key value pairs.
Okay.
This is the key, this is the value. But they serve slightly different purpose of or best used in different scenarios. See config map, it can be consumed environment variables and volumes as well. Volume mount. If you want to mount any volume, these these volumes are attached dynamically and command line arguments within a pod. Is there any command you can provide these arguments also, command line arguments also? Config map definition file you have to provide. There is a feature. So best use cases, centralized configuration. The config map is a centralized configuration. If you changes in the config map only, then automatically running containers dynamically updated. No need to delete the pod and recreate. So when you want to store and manage configuration data centrally, that is a environment variable means only pod level. This is a centrally. Share it across multiple pods and services. Volume mount. If you want to mount, expose the configuration as a files within a pod, JSON or XML format. So you can use config map as a volume mount. Dynamic configuration. Config map allows to you update configuration without redeploying the pod. This is the main feature, config map advantage. Remember this. Without redeploying means you don't want to delete the pod and recreate. Running container itself automatically, those details, what are the configuration data you mentioned, you updated in the config map section, those details dynamically updated, loaded for running from running containers. So pods are a config map value with automatically see the changes. So here key differences. These are the scope. What is the scope of config map and environment variables? See here, environment variables are static, specific to each pod or container. So, mano environment, if we provide environment variable inside the pod means that those configuration data set to specific pod. But here, when you use config map, you can share across multiple pods. Same configuration for config map details, you can share across multiple pods. This is the advantage. This is the main scope. And flexibility. Config map provides more flexibility since it can be used as environment variables, files for mounting and command line arguments. Dynamically updated config map can be dynamically without redeploying the pods, updated dynamically. So already so when using environment variables, uh, static once pod is created. So once pod is created, we can't change. If you want to change in the pod level, you can change the definition file level and redeploy the pod. That is the static scenario. But config map providing dynamic updates. So these are the main key differences. Now work practically.
Parsham Garam,
Yeah, tell me.
what is the difference between pod and deployment and the difference అంటే pod కానీ deployment replicas ఇవన్నీ difference ఏంటండి?
What is a blueprint for anything in the Kubernetes resource? Means if you want to deploy any application, what is a
Okay,
blueprint? Deployment not like
okay,
that. If you want to create multiple pods, you have to go with deployment
okay.
or replica set. And one more thing, pods don't have any additional capabilities like load balancing and scaling. These kind of features not there because once pod is created, only one service is running. There is no load balancing. Means there is no replicas for same copy. But deployment not like that. You have replication section. You have to provide scaling. How many copies you want? Means you have to provide specific number. How many pods you want?
Hello, Parshram.
So it will take 10 to 15 minutes. We'll discuss definition files. This is the pod for MySQL. So initially API version V1 kind. So what type of resource it is in Kubernetes? So metadata. Metadata is nothing but data about data. MySQL pod labels DB specification of the container. The environment, I'm creating pods using environment variable.
వర్షం గారు ఎవరో క్వశ్చన్ అడుగుతున్నారు ఇప్పుడు చూడండి.
Not getting anything here. Hello? MySQL database name. Value. Store. MySQL underscore user. Name. What is created, who cannot change. This is the static definition of data configuration. Now
username
configuration.
value plus
Config map. Definition. Section V1. Kind config map. Name. It's equal config.
Hello.
Yeah. Tell me.
Yeah, hi Parikram, Nikhil.
Yeah, tell me.
In front of metadata, it should be a colon. We are put wrong.
Yeah. Configuration data. PD means. So here there is no specifications. Just provide data. Well, well, sorry. Definition. Container definition section. Just keyword changed. env replace env from. Config map reference. This is the this step.
వర్షం గారు ఒక చిన్న డౌట్ నాకు. హలో,
Yes, tell me.
ఇది డేటాబేస్ అప్లికేషన్స్ కి మనం ఎన్విరాన్మెంట్ వేరియబుల్స్ పాస్ చేస్తాం కదా, అంటే వాట్ ఈస్ ద యూజ్ అంటే ఎన్విరాన్మెంట్ వేరియబుల్స్ పాస్ చేయడం వల్ల అప్లికేషన్ యూజ్ ఏంటి అంటే
DBకి మనం
సెక్యూర్ గా
ఇప్పుడు ఎన్ని డీబీ తీసుకున్నాం అనుకోండి, మనకి డీబీకి యూజర్ నేమ్ పాస్వర్డ్ స్పెసిఫిక్ మెంబర్ యాక్సెస్ ఉంటుంది. సో వాళ్ళకి కంపల్సరీ ఆ యాక్సెస్ ఉంటేనే మనం యాక్సెస్ చేసుకోగలుగుతాం. ఆ పర్పస్ మ్యాండేటరీగా ఎన్విరాన్మెంట్ వేరియబుల్స్ కావాలి. ఈవెన్ కంటైనర్ క్రియేట్ అయ్యేటప్పుడు కూడా ఆ ఎన్విరాన్మెంట్ వేరియబుల్స్ సెట్ చేస్తేనే కంటైనర్స్ క్రియేట్ అవుతాయి. సో లేదంటే అసలు పాడ్సే క్రియేట్ అవ్వవు, పెండింగ్ స్టేటస్లో ఉండిపోతాయి. సో ఇక్కడ నేమ్ రెఫరెన్స్, యూ హ్యావ్ టు ప్రొవైడ్ నేమ్ రెఫరెన్స్. కాన్ఫ్లిక్ట్ then automatically when here username changed, then automatically running containers this data loaded. Means if you want to access that container, you have to use updated password. Check once this contain cluster created or not. Still it is creating. So the definition of config map. This is the environment variables. This is the static. Once a container is created, you cannot change. If you want to change by using environment variables, you can delete the pod and recreate and change and redeploy the pod. But only config map here dynamically updated this configuration data. So you have to change dynamically in the config map itself.
Hello, Parashuram.
Yeah, tell me.
So we don't need to keep that label for same for both file config map and pod.
Yes, understanding purpose I have created. If it is the organizations based on application naming convention, you have to follow the names.
Yeah, but means you have mentioned the different label in config map and in different label in pod. So will it communicate? If suppose
This is not
we change.
this. Yeah, see here only creating one pod only. Pod to pod communication, how will happen means service yesterday and the day before yesterday classes. I clearly explained. So follow those two videos, two sessions.
Yes, but suppose we changed in the config map means key value pair. So key value we suppose we change. So will it reflect to pod
Yes,
automatically?
where you have to change.
Means suppose in value name and value we change update. Suppose we update that name and value. So will it automatically reflect to pod?
Yeah, if it is config map, not
Yes,
pod.
I am asking about config map only.
Yeah, updated.
Okay, okay. So this means if we have, as we mentioned here in a pod file, config map reference and name we have given to our config map. So
Yes.
means on that basis only will it reflect?
Yeah, whatever things here you change now, it automatically running containers, it got changed.
Okay. Okay. Only we have to mention that name means as you mentioned MySQL config map.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, cluster is ready now. Yeah, 3 by 3 is running. Ready. Now work with environment variable first. So successfully created. Of course, it will take some time for setting up environment variables. So crash loop back off. This is the scenario interviewer asking. So container errors, status of the container errors. What is crash loop back off and container errors? So we'll discuss further classes. Don't worry, but some have resource type. Keeps it here. Describe.
pod/MySQL pod.
No, no, no. See here. I'm checking pod. Same I'm providing.
So kubectl describe pod, and after that we have to mention the pod name.
See here why it is failed. Successfully pulled image from Docker Hub. Loop backup starting container MySQL pod. Yes. Environment variables are okay.
So it's pulling from Docker Hub.
Oh,
You just check once the name of Docker image. MySQL.
right. See, I'm providing typing mistake here. Password. That's why pod not creating. These are the human errors. That's why Helm Helm is came into the picture. So this kind of environment where you maintain the chart and values level. So we'll discuss. Here I'm not providing MySQL root underscore password. So that's why getting error. Issue it will create.